During my clinical rotation on the oncology unit at Anne Arundel Medical Center, I didn't observe chemotherapy administration firsthand, but one thing that really stood out was how the rooms were equipped. My preceptor pointed out the presence of closed system drug transfer devices, also known as CSTDs, in every patient room. These devices are used for the safe handling and disposal of chemotherapy agents and related materials, and their regular appearance across the unit caught my attention. What prompted my interest was a safety notice during orientation. Students who were pregnant or might be pregnant were advised to inform the instructor due to the potential risks of exposure. It was explained that chemotherapy agents can pose a significant risk to fetal development. Having not encountered similar exposure precautions in prior clinical settings, this warning stood out and made me think about workplace safety in oncology. It was the first time I recognized that risks associated with cancer treatment are not limited to patients. Healthcare professionals involved in preparing and administering these medications may also face serious occupational hazards. This led me to further look into the role of CSTDs in minimizing exposure risks and to evaluate the evidence supporting their effectiveness in protecting oncology healthcare workers. The clinical problem here is the risk of hazardous drug exposure during chemotherapy preparation and administration. Surface contamination has been documented even after standard cleaning procedures, and trace amounts of drugs have been found on work surfaces, on gloves, and even on workers' clothing. Long-term exposure has been linked to health effects such as spontaneous abortions, infertility, and secondary cancers. These risks have been clearly demonstrated in both research and practice, yet many facilities still rely on standard drug administration methods that leave room for leakage and aerosolization. The issue isn't a lack of awareness. Guidelines exist. It's a matter of implementation and ensuring the best practices are backed by institutional support and evidence-based decisions. To research this further, I created a focused PICO question. My population is healthcare workers in oncology settings, primarily nurses and pharmacists who handle chemotherapy drugs. The intervention is the use of closed system drug transfer devices, or CSTDs, which are designed to completely seal the medication transfer route, preventing escape of hazardous substances. The comparison group is those using traditional administration techniques without CSTDs, such as needle and syringe or open vials. And the desired outcome is reduced exposure to hazardous drugs measured by surface contamination levels, biomonitoring, and reported incidents. The question aims to identify not just whether CSTDs work, but how effective they are in real-world practice compared to what's currently being done. To answer my PICO question, I reviewed relevant studies using PubMed and cumulative index to nursing and allied health literature. I used search terms like closed system drug transfer device, hazardous drug exposure, chemotherapy safety, and surface contamination. I focused on studies from 2018 to the present time, to ensure the data was recent and aligned with current practices and technologies. Articles were selected based on their relevance, the study design, and quality. I prioritized peer-reviewed journals and studies that included measurable outcomes, such as contamination levels or biomonitoring data. 5 strong articles were identified, offering a mix of multi-center studies, comparative designs, and real-world evaluations of CSTDs. The evidence from these studies consistently supports the effectiveness of CSTDs in reducing contamination and exposure. Bartel et al. In 2018 conducted a multi-center study showing reduced surface contamination when CSTDs were used. This was across multiple hospital sites. Brechtelsbauer in 2023 focused on actual contamination reduction using surface wipe sampling. The study showed CSTDs significantly reduced detectable drug residues. Marler-Halson et al. In 2020 took a specific look at doxorubicin, a high-risk drug, and found that contamination during administration was nearly eliminated when CSTDs were used. Picardo et al. In 2021 examined leakage during drug compounding and confirmed CSTDs as a more secure option, limiting environmental contamination. Tang et al. In 2022 provided a comparative analysis in China and found that CSTDs offered better protection across different hospital models. Together, these studies answer the PICO question clearly. CSTDs are more effective than standard methods in reducing occupational exposure. So what do we do with this information? First, it supports broader adoption of CSTDs as a best practice, not just for large cancer centers, but for all facilities handling hazardous drugs. It also calls for stronger policy enforcement. USP 800 provides guidance on handling hazardous drugs, but it's up to the institutions to put these guidelines into action. For nurse leaders, this evidence helps build a strong case for investing in protective equipment. While cost is a valid consideration, ensuring the long-term health and retention of staff is just as important. On the floor, it reminds us of the importance of safety protocols, ongoing training, and documentation. It's not enough to just have the tools. We must use them correctly. Most importantly, this research supports nurses in advocating for safer practices. By speaking up about protective tools, we're not only safeguarding our own well-being, we're also ensuring we can continue providing safe and effective care to our patients.